That's awesome,
Yeah.
man. That's awesome. Well, thanks for coming on here. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
The So basically, I started this deal is just I wanted to. I noticed throughout my career, talking to guys that I learned a lot, just having conversations.
Hmm.
And so I started this deal where I let people, they join a membership and they can be, they can watch this and kind of ask questions. So I got some questions from people
Yeah.
to ask you, and so I'm excited, man. It's a lot of fun. It's pretty much just a
Yeah, sounds
podcast
cool, man.
style deal, and hopefully we can help some kids. Hopefully we can help them, teach them, learn from your experience.
Yeah, that'd be huge.
But anyway, tell us some things about you, man. Where you're from, that type of stuff.
Yeah, so I'm from Tampa, Florida. Grew up like right outside Tampa. Grew up playing baseball here. Played a bunch of sports growing up, but baseball kind of stuck. Um, yeah, did all travel ball down here, and then went to Bishop McLaughlin Catholic up in Spring Hill, just north of Tampa, and then from there I went to Florida International for my freshman year, and then they had a bunch of coaching changes. I had like three different pitching coaches while there, so I ended up transferring to College Central Florida, junior college. The plan was to go to just a bigger university after that. I was signed to go to LSU out of my junior college, but the draft came around, and I always wanted to play professional baseball. That was the end goal, make it to the big leagues. And so I decided to just take that opportunity that I was given and run with it. So
Definitely,
yeah, that's where I
definitely.
met you, the Jays.
Oh yeah, definitely. That was good times,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
Good times. Yeah, we got drafted together, came up kind of together.
yeah.
Tell me a little more about like when you go to JUCO. You weren't expecting to get drafted. Did you make a huge jump in that year at
Yeah, so
JUCO or?
I started throwing hard. I wasn't really throwing hard in high school. I mean, like I was throwing hard for a high schooler. Like I was throwing like 88, but it was just like I only had a fastball. I didn't really know how to spin anything. And then I go to Florida National, and we start lifting, early morning lifts, like college lifts,
Oh yeah.
and so I started getting the weight room, learning how to actually lift, and then by then my freshman year, I relieved that whole year, and I think I was by then my freshman year I was topping out at like 95, 96,
Right.
and so then when I transferred, I wasn't expecting to like keep jumping in velo, but like that fall, I started throwing like weighted balls, got on a new like weighted ball program, continued lifting, kind of matured more into my body. And then by the end of the fall, my sophomore year, hit 100 for the first time. And then from there, it was all about getting the secondary stuff, like get a slider to
Right.
go with it, get a change up, get a curveball, start working on the pitchability aspect. And I was still pretty raw when in my sophomore year in junior college, so I still kind of had to put some stuff together, but definitely got better into pro ball. But yeah, the goal was just to go to junior college and to go to another 4 year school, like a
You were
like a better.
committed, weren't you? You were committed somewhere
Yeah,
LSU. Is that right?
yeah, I was signed
Yeah.
to go to LSU for my junior year, but draft came around. Obviously, when the first round, and I couldn't turn it down.
Right.
So I was like, I wanted to go to LSU, but like the main goal was to get into pro ball, and like I had my
100%.
opportunity there, so I seized it and took off from there.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, one thing I've always admired about you is like how hard you worked. I mean, as soon as you came in, you had a routine. It was like you were already kind of on that pro like schedule. You had your
Yeah.
routine and a bunch of other stuff that you would do, and I learned a lot from it personally watching you. But like a lot of guys don't come in knowing that. How big was that? Where did you develop that routine and to get to that point?
I think I learned it at like I was pretty young. I was in high school because I got injured in high school and I had to get surgery on my elbow. And then like coming back from that, like like coming back from an injury, you got to
Right.
like work twice as hard just to get back to where you're at. And so going through that injury in high school, I came back from it. I was like, all right, this is what I want to do. Like I want to make baseball work. Like this is what I'm
Right.
good at. Like I'm gonna go all in. And so I started my like getting a routine set up. Focusing on like what I'm eating, what I'm focusing on in the weight room, what I'm focusing on when I'm on the mound, and like bullpens, and like I kind of like divided it up each category. Like, all right, when I'm away from the field, what am I doing, and what can I be doing to put myself in a better position for tomorrow, or like the overall goal of just being a better person, pitcher, like just
Right.
teammate, just try to be the overall well-rounded guy, the person that players want to be around, like your teammates want to be around, just be a positive impact on everyone I was around. I kind of like took pride in that, and like that carried over into my freshman year at FIU, and then it definitely carried over when I had to meet a whole bunch of new people at my junior
Oh
college.
yeah,
And then I think it kind of just got me ready for pro ball because like
yeah.
I went to a new school my freshman year, new school my sophomore year, and then basically a whole new experience going into pro ball where you're meeting a whole bunch of different guys, new coaches,
Oh
and
yeah.
I think that kind of got me ready.
Right, definitely. I totally agree. It sounds like you just kind of took it upon yourself and you were like, okay, I'm focused on this. This is what I want to do. And then you like go all in on it. Is that right? Is that kind of how it
Yeah,
went?
yeah, definitely made the like decision with myself. Like, all right, well, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna go all in and like try to do focus on every aspect of the game and whatever can make me better. Really.
Right. So you mentioned throwing 100. You're one of the few guys in the world that can say, that you do that. And you also mentioned weighted balls. So I get some questions on here. I got some questions about weighted balls and what you think about them. So what's your take on weighted balls? Is it something you should do, and when should you start it? Should there be a routine? Is some limits on it, or what? Where are you at with weighted balls now?
Yeah, yeah. See, like I didn't start throwing weighted balls until I was like pretty like mature into my body. Like I was probably 19 years old when I first started throwing weighted balls, and like I kind of like that aspect because you don't want to start too early. Like I see some videos of some kids like throwing them so early, and like your body's not even like built for that yet. You know, you're not even like 18 years old. You know, you're not even some kids haven't even gone through puberty yet, and like I feel like I got some raw velo just from like growing and like trying to just be athletic. And that carried over to a weighted ball program that I got introduced by my junior college coach.
Yeah.
Um, and it kind of just, it wasn't like, the goal wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna gain a bunch of velo when I'm doing it. Like I was already throwing like decently hard. It wasn't like that. It was like to clean up the arm action. So I guess what I would say if you're gonna start throwing weighted balls, like what is your goal
Okay.
for
Yeah.
throwing weighted balls? I wouldn't be like, oh, I'm just trying to throw harder. Like that's good and everything, but you want to have a healthy arm too. You know, you want to have a good arm pattern. You know, whatever your slot is.
Right.
You know, you just got to know what your goal is going into weighted balls and like know the drills, know how to do them properly. You know, like have a coach there that knows what he's doing, has experience with weighted balls, like the do's and don'ts, and I just wouldn't go crazy with it, like because at the end of the day, you still got to be athletic on the mound. Like you're an athletic guy. I always saw you jumping through the roof whenever we were doing testing and stuff, and you threw hard. And it's like you just want to be an athlete, man. Like
Yeah.
you don't want to lock yourself into just certain patterns and like be chucking weighted balls as hard as you can all the time. You know, there's a time and place, really.
I totally agree. I think when young kids ask me how to throw harder. I mean, I'm 5'9". I'm up mid 90s. It's like, man, just be a better athlete. Like that's step number one. Like for me, anyway, my thought process on it and my experience is like the better athlete you become, the harder you're gonna throw. So,
Exactly.
what do you think you like helped you become such a good athlete? Because you move well. You're so big. You move a lot better than a lot of guys your size. You see a bunch of guys your size that throw 90 miles an hour. So,
Yeah.
what do you think allowed you to become the athlete that you are, and that you grew into as you got older?
I think finding like the mix of like explosive like training, whether it's like jumping or like broad jumps or like quick twitch stuff. Because like on the mound, you got to be like twitchy. Like when I feel like I'm throwing my hardest, it's like everything's twitchy. Like you're just moving quick. Like it's not like this big long thing. It's like no, you're just like exploding. Like your hips are firing, arms
Oh yeah,
shooting through, and it's like I just feel like really twitchy. And so a lot of my like in my weight training now is like band resisted like push ups where it's like you're like exploding off the ground, or it's like um, banded broad jumps.
sure.
Like you're trying to jump as far as you can. It's like stuff like that where it's like you're building that quick twitch. So when it translates to the mound, it's easier. And it's also like there's like mountain plies with like medicine ball, and like you're doing like kind of like a shuttle where it's like you're doing your motion, but then you're exploding and like trying to throw the medicine ball as hard as you can.
Right.
Like and it's like when you go to pick up a baseball, it feels natural and it's like you're moving quick and but that's kind of like what I think about it when
No,
I
I like that, man.
was
I think when you're pitching, like you don't want it to feel like forced at the end. Like I've always thought, like I don't want it to feel like I want it to be smooth and athletic, and I want to
Yeah,
feel that whip and the ball come out of my hand. And that's kind of what you're talking about
exactly.
with like the med balls and stuff. Like you're just training that movement where it's
Yeah,
like, okay, I've done this over and over again. I'm getting better at it, and when you get on the mound, it's just let it rip.
yeah.
But anyway, I think that's great advice. I really do. I mean, but what about kids that specialize too early? Do you think that's a thing, or do you like how many did you play other sports coming up, or like what
Yeah, I
was that?
played. I think by my junior year of high school, I kind of locked in on baseball. But
Sure.
up until then, I was playing football, basketball, mainly those two other ones.
Yeah.
I really liked basketball because it like taught me how to jump and probably be the most athletic. Like football's fun, but like um, that's more like a toughness thing. Like you get fucking beat up all those. Oh,
Oh
sorry, I
yeah.
just cursed. But
You're good.
yeah, but basketball is fun because like it's conditioning, it's jumping, it's everything. That teaches you how to be an athlete, like cutting, quick twitch. So I really loved basketball. But then once I got to my junior year, I was like, all right, baseball's probably gonna take priority here because I felt like I had the best
Yeah.
shot at that sport. And so then I kind of focused on that. But like growing up, like you got to play everything. You got to figure out what you're like, and I feel like it makes you a well-rounded athlete too.
100%. I think people don't realize how many guys in the big leagues were great athletes in other sports growing
Yeah,
up. I mean, really, if you look at like up and down the list, most of the guys were really good at other sports or very athletic, and you could tell that they were well-rounded athletes. Pitchers
yeah,
get a bad rep that we just stand there and throw.
yeah,
But
yeah.
that's not the case. I mean, what do you think?
No, it's definitely not the case. Like some of the best athletes I know are pitchers, and it's like you wouldn't even think that, but it's like these guys can jump, like jump. They're fast, and like some of the position players get taken back because like some of us are pretty athletic, and they're like, whoa, all right. But
Yeah.
then again, it doesn't look good when we mess up like a PFP, Then it's
Well,
just
yeah. Yeah.
like our one job is to field a softly hit like bunt to first base, and sometimes those are the hardest ones. But
It's because we're thinking too much.
yeah, exactly.
That's
But
awesome,
yeah,
man. Okay, so another direction I kind of want to take this is I feel like you were drafted and we were drafted together when we kind of came up. I feel like you were a little ahead of a lot of guys coming in on like the analytics side of it.
yeah.
Because I didn't know anything. I was a guy that just kind of came in and I threw hard. I was a good athlete, and I competed. But you seemed like you did all that too. But you were ahead maybe mentally a little bit with the analytics side. How did that happen? And kind of give us some background on that.
Really got to credit like the junior college I was at. Like they're very open to new ideas and moving forward, and so they were like very analytical based on like our weightlifting stuff. And like I remember we had like some of the tractors. You remember when we were using like deadlifts with the
Mm-hmm.
J's? We had those speed units on
Oh
it.
yeah.
Like we were using those. And this was just like early, like before it was even really a thing. This was back in 2016, 2017. And that was my first time ever seeing that. And then when we got to the mound, uh, learned that's when Driveline was like really big. And so we started doing some of the weighted ball programs. And then that's when Rapsodo came out.
Right.
We didn't have a Rapsodo, but we had something like it. But then we ended up getting a Rapsodo, and that's when I learned about um, like vertical break, like why do guys miss my fastball, and like I just wanted to learn what in my repertoire like makes it good, like
Right.
what why am I having success? Like is it just throwing hard, or is it because my fastball is moving, or is it I just became obsessed with like knowing what works and what doesn't, and that carried over into the Jays because the Jays were pretty. Right when I got there, they were pretty not analytical, and then we started getting Rapsodos, and then Trackmans came out, and I kind of just bought all into it. And like there was a time where I felt like I was like too into it. I was like, all right, I need to step back and just compete
Yeah.
because like that's the main thing. Like you don't want to be out on the mound and like throw a pitch like, oh man, I think my vertical break wasn't good on that. Like no, like
Right.
you're on the mound. You got to compete. You got like all that stuff can't be in your head. Like you just got to go out there and try to attack guys, fill up the zone, and like clear the mechanism basically, and just focus on competing.
100%.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think analytics. I when I talk to people about it, I explain it like it's a tool. Like it can help you get a lot better, but once you're out there, exactly like you said, you got to just compete and go after it.
Yeah.
You can't be thinking about, oh, my fastball isn't riding today, or
Yeah.
like, oh man, that breaking ball was above the line. It didn't get any depth, like whatever it might
Hmm.
be. You know, it's just one of those things that I really do think has advanced the game a lot
Yeah.
and made pitchers better. What do you think about that? You think it really is helping?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think it is helping. I think the analytics now helps more than ever for scouting, like especially at the major league level. Like you'll see guys that have just like insane stuff, but they have like a 6 ERA or whatever, and they're like, okay, there's something small there that we can like someone can fix. They see something in the analytics, like, yo, this guy shouldn't be getting hit like this, but like I think we can tweak something, and like all of a sudden he's missing bats, and like you see it all the time, guys
Oh yeah,
bounce back from like a terrible year, and all of a sudden they're one of the best in the league, and it's you see it all the time, and I think analytics plays a part in that. Uh, but also like the mental part of the game, especially at the big league level, like it's like it's a war zone, man. Like it's grown men going at it. Like it's like everyone's livelihood. It's a
yeah.
game at the end of the day, and we enjoy it. We have fun, but like it's also like people are trying to make their money for their families and stuff. So it's a little bit of a different level up there, but you know, it's all like you still have to have fun. You gotta compete, and I think analytics has definitely helped the game. But I think there's a fine line between too much. Like when I throw my bullpens, I throw two bullpens a week in the off season once it gets close to spring training, and like one bullpen is like I'll have like the TrackMan and I'll have like the numbers and like I'll work on pitch design or whatever I'm working on that off season, and then the second bullpen is just straight like competing with myself, like I have the TrackMan going, but I'm not looking at it until after my bullpen's done.
Right.
So like
No,
I'm
I like that.
competing with location, and just trying to fill up the zone or whatever I'm trying to work on. Whether it's one pitch, like our fastball command, let's try to move it around the plate. Let's try to, and then after I'll look at the TrackMan data and see what it
Yeah.
is. But I
No,
feel
I
like
like
there's a
that a
fine line
lot,
with
man.
it.
I think that's great. I think it kind of gets lost when people dive too far into it. Like you're saying, the mental side of it and the compete side of the game gets a little lost. And
Yeah,
I mean, this game, as you know, and as you were talking about in the big leagues, especially the pressure and the mental side of the game, it can wear on you. It's worn on everybody that's played this game. I can promise you, at some
yeah.
point or another. What do you think allows you to get through some of that and kind of work through, and be the best you can be, even with all that pressure and the failure of baseball?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's especially like being like as a reliever, you probably throw like maybe 4 times a week, so you have 4 outings a week, maybe more sometimes if you're really throwing a lot. Which if you're throwing a lot, that means you're probably pitching pretty good. But um, I think you got to look at like in like sections, like every 10 outings or every 7 outings. Like all right, if you have 2 bad outings out of 10, like all right, you're doing good. Just keep on the same, like you're doing what you need to be doing. If you're having like 5 out of 10 bad ones, like okay, let's look at the five. Let's see what we're doing wrong in those five, and then like try to make an adjustment.
Right.
It's like it's all about riding the wave too, because like you have like a really bad one. Like I've given up a 4 spot in the big leagues, and like I've seen my ERA go up a whole like point like 1.5. Like, and it's like, dude, I just had a good ERA. Now it's at
Oh
like
yeah.
a now I'm at a 4. Like, and like you gotta step away from that. Like, okay, let's just focus on tomorrow. I probably may have to pitch tomorrow, so let's just go in there and compete and forget about yesterday. It's just literally that flushing mentality, man. It's such a long season. It's 162 games. Like you just gotta just ride the wave. Like you're gonna have great months and you're gonna have terrible months. Like I was really like this all year. Like had a great first month, and then by the end of the second month had a 4.5, and then so it's
Comes back
like
around. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's baseball, right? Like you're gonna give up. Sometimes you're gonna throw a good pitch and it's gonna get hit.
yep,
And sometimes you're gonna throw a bad pitch, you're gonna strike somebody out. It's just one of those things where it's like,
exactly.
you can't read too much into it. And I like what you said about like 2 out of 10 were bad, and maybe that inflated your ERA because one of them was a 4 spot, right?
Yeah,
Like I think teams are smart enough now to where it's like, oh, we see those 8 out of 10, and we
Yeah.
understand that, like, hey, that one game, those 2 games where you gave up 2 and 4 blew up your
Yeah.
ERA, but you've been
Yep.
consistently good. That I think people put a lot of pressure on themselves, especially kids, to be perfect every time out.
Yeah.
When this game just isn't, that's just not going to happen. It might happen in
Yeah.
high school, but like it's not going to happen as you get better and you face better competition.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just one of those things. This game that we choose to play and we love it, but it's like it's going to beat
Game
you
of
up, and I mean,
game of failure.
100%. I mean, people people can say that from the outside looking in, but it's one thing to like really experience it and be
Yeah.
in it. I think it's really hard. And what's your advice? I mean, do you have any more advice for kids that maybe when they first get to college and they're experiencing failure for the first time?
Yeah, man. Like right when you get on campus, like it's a whole new like step for you. Like first, like congratulate yourself for making it to the college level because like you're already ahead of a lot of guys. Like a lot of people that grow up playing baseball, like you made it to the college level, so you gotta give yourself like props for that. And then I think just don't overwhelm yourself with like trying a bunch of new things. Like pick one aspect of your game that you want to improve on, and then focus on that. And then whatever you're doing like outside the field, like is that making you a better person, better baseball player, like this stuff like that. Because you're gonna have a lot of different teammates. You're gonna have guys that are taking it serious. You're gonna have guys that are just there just to enjoy college. And it's surrounding yourself with good hard workers. I feel like that's the main thing I did when I was in college. Like, all right, these guys want to get better, so I'm gonna put myself around them, and it's a
Yeah,
good positive influence.
definitely. I mean, my college coach said the 5 most important words he used to say is surround yourself with good people,
Yeah.
and I wholeheartedly believe that. I mean, I think we were really lucky, and when we got drafted, we had a bunch of good guys in our class that
Yeah.
worked hard and took it seriously. Let's talk about that for a minute. I mean, your first round pick. I've been around, quite a few of them now. They're not all like you. They're not all humble and hardworking. And I'm just putting it out there and being honest. I'm not going to throw names or anything. But how did you come in and you were still one of the hardest workers, maybe the hardest worker in our draft class? And just the professionalism you had. What do you think attributed to that and you staying humble and working as hard as you did?
Man, because I just I wanted to make something of my career. Like, yeah, I was a first round pick, so like that's congrats. But like I was like that was not the end goal. The end goal is get to the big leagues and have a good big league career. And I think after I got drafted, I was lucky enough to go in the first round. But then like that's when like the real work started. I was like, all right, I want to get to the whatever level they're going to start me at. I'm going to get these guys out. I'm going to compete and show them that I deserve to be at the next level. And then like the next level after that. And like, it wasn't like I'm trying to rush to the big leagues. Like I knew I wasn't ready right when I got drafted. Like, there's certain steps you got to take and like enjoying the process of it, being 20, 21 years old and getting into pro ball after college, it could be overwhelming at times, but it's like you guys just got to dumb it down. You just got to like focus on like, all right, I'm at this level. I'm in Vancouver. Like what can I do here to make myself better, set me up for next season?
Yeah.
And it's like just taking like baby steps like that, and then like next thing you know, you look up, you're like, oh, I'm in double A, oh, I'm in triple A. Like
Yeah.
it's like stuff like that, and then like again, surround yourself with good people. Like you're one of the good guys, so it's like surround yourself with guys that take this stuff serious. Like we're making money now, not like a lot because we're in the minors, but it's like we're like this is our job now. So it's like you want to
100%.
make this work. Like we got to get to work. It was
Definitely.
like that was kind of my mindset behind it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought you were always, a good teammate, and I think kids don't really always realize what that means. What does that mean to you to be a good teammate?
Just caring about other people other than yourself. Like yeah, you want to get yourself better and you want to get to the big leagues, but there's definitely a fine line of just treating people the right way. And no matter if you're a first rounder or a 30th rounder, like those guys make it to the big leagues too. Like it doesn't matter just because you
Right.
got picked higher. Like they were like really good athletes in their high school and their college, and they could easily make it to the big leagues because they have raw talent just like you. And that's how I just viewed everyone. Everyone was, everyone had a shot to me. The way I thought about it, it's like if
Yeah,
they get to work, if they work hard, I think everyone that gets drafted has a shot to make it to the big leagues. It's just whether or not they have the right head on their shoulders, whether they work hard. And I don't know. I was like, I'm going to be a good teammate because I love this game and I like to see my teammates succeed too. That means if we're all succeeding, that means we're winning.
yeah,
And,
absolutely. That's a lot more fun.
and yeah, and everyone wants to be on a winning team.
Yeah, yeah,
So
definitely. Makes life a lot more enjoyable during the season if you're winning. I guarantee you that.
exactly.
No matter what level you're at.
Yeah.
I was lucky to come up with you. I mean, we played what, high A, double A, triple A in the big leagues a little bit
Yeah.
together. What do you think was the biggest jump kind of coming through minor league baseball? What do you think was the biggest level to jump to? Is it just triple A big leagues, or is it like high A to double A? Like, I get this question a lot for some reason. People like to ask it, but what is it?
Definitely. Like, so I feel like there's two. There's like when you're in the minors, it's high to double A for sure because that's when you're like, okay, I got to make sure I have, um, I was coming up as a starter, like high, I got away with just having two pitches, and then when I got to double A, it's like, all right, I need to start landing that third pitch a lot more.
Right.
And then so that was like a big jump. Like pitchability becomes into effect. Like raw talent like only gets you so far. And I feel like that for me that was double A, and I hit like kind of like a rough patch in double A, and I was like I had to make adjustments. And then so I started focusing on my third pitch, not just fastball slider, and like whether it was a changeup or my curveball. And then I think once I got a hang of that, I was like, all right, double A was good. And then the jump to triple A wasn't that bad for me. But I feel like the jump from AAA to the big leagues is the biggest jump,
Yeah.
more mentally than anything. Like you're up there like with grown men that are in their 30s, and like I debuted when I was 23, and so like I was like kind of taken back. I was like, man, like these are grown ass men, like
Oh
and
yeah,
like
man.
and everyone's working hard up there for the most part, and like everyone's on top of their stuff. And so like I think that's when confidence plays a huge role. Like you got to go up there, like they called you up, like you got to walk in there like you're confident you can get these guys out, like not in like a cocky way, but just like know that you're good enough to be there. I feel like that was like the hardest part for me, even being like a high prospect and everything, and like a guy that's supposed to succeed and like all this stuff. But it's like, just that level of just even more professionalized setting where it's like, all
Definitely.
right, this is like the biggest stage. Like you're here, like let's go to work. Let's figure stuff out. Like, that's when the game was probably the hardest, and the game speeds up on you the most there.
Right.
I feel like 'cause the lights are brighter, louder fans. The game it just
It
feels
means
different up
more. I
there.
mean, let's be
It,
honest. It means more.
yeah,
I mean,
it means a lot more. A lot more money on the table. Like it's definitely a bigger stage for sure.
definitely. I mean, and it is what it is. In minor league baseball, not everybody's concerned about winning. Although I am on the side that you should be concerned about winning in minor league baseball, but not everybody is. And when you get to the big leagues, if you're not helping the team win, you're not going to be there. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
just you're going to get sent down. You're going to be, DFA, traded, whatever it may be. But you're not
Yeah,
going to be there if you aren't helping the team win. And I think that's a good mindset for kids to learn early. Like
yeah.
whatever it takes to help the team win. You went from for you you went from starting to relieving. Tell me kind of what that's been like for you,
I
and
mean
what adjustments you made.
the transition was weird for a little bit just because the routine's different. Like as a starter, you're throwing once every 5 days, so you can map out like I'm gonna do this on the first day, this on the second day, this on the third day. As a reliever, like you gotta be ready every day, just for the most part. And I kind of like that aspect of it because like you do the same routine every day. Like like all right, I show up at this time, get my prep work in, see the trainer if I need to see him for like whatever I need, whether it's like body work, soft tissue, or whatever to get me ready to go out for throwing program. And we got throwing program, we got shag VP or conditioning, and then we come back in, grab a little bite to eat, and then we lock in, put our uniform on, you go out to the pen, and you may or may not pitch. That's the thing. Like, but you gotta know when to get your body ready out there. Kind of feel the game out. It's kind of like you're playing like a game out there. You're like, oh, I may or may not pitch, but we're gonna lock in and get ready just in case my name gets called. So I'm ready to run out there and compete.
Definitely.
So, but yeah, it's definitely a weird transition at first, but I mean it's still pitching. It's still fun, man. It's just a different role.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it is different. I mean, being a reliever is, I started in college and whatever, and got to pro ball, and I agree with you what you said. I like the fact that you get to at least have the chance to compete every day. At
Yeah,
least you get that feeling. Now, don't get me wrong, I can wear on you every day, where it's like,
yeah,
oh gosh, here we go again.
yeah, yeah,
Especially when things are bad. What do you kind of do when maybe you're like, man, I kind of hope I don't pitch today? Because we've all had
yeah,
those days where you're like, I don't know, man. I'm
yeah,
not feeling it. Whatever it
yeah.
is.
Like, yeah.
How do
There's
you
so
get
many
your mind
times.
right?
Yeah, there's so many times where I'm like in catch play and I'm like, man, I really am not feeling the best today. Like, you like goes through your head, like, man, I hope I don't pitch. But then after I think those thoughts, I'm like, man, I'll figure it out. Like adrenaline will hit. Like I got to get like 4 outs, 3 outs. Take it one pitch at a time and just grind through it. And like
Right.
I've had to pitch on those days where I'm just at my lowest, and it's like it's all right, dude. Like you're at the highest level. Like that's what I tell myself. You're at the highest level. Like you're getting paid to do this. Like just go out there, compete with whatever you have that day, even if it's not your best. Just go out there, compete, and try to get a clean inning in. Try to get 2 clean innings, whatever they ask for you. Just go out there and just keep competing. Don't let the other team see that you're wavering. Like that's the biggest thing. Like even if I feel like crap and my arm is hanging, like the other team's not going to know that because that just feeds them. Like
Oh
if the
yeah.
hitter sees that you're just like dragging a little bit, like all right, he's ready. He's ready to leave one over the middle. So I'm like the
Right.
hitters start locking it even more. So it's
100%.
just like it's just be about being the same guy every day. Like don't have these drastic like dragging moments, and don't have these like when you're feeling good, very chipper, and like
Right.
it's just like being the same guy every day.
100%. I think that's huge. I think that's huge in your routines, huge in just how you treat people. Being the same guy every day means a lot to a lot of people, especially
Yeah,
when you're in it every day with these guys. Nobody
yeah,
wants to ride the roller coaster. I've said this a couple times on these podcasts, but nobody wants to ride a roller coaster. Like
yeah. No,
you don't want to be on the roller coaster with a teammate. You're not going to talk to him. I mean, that's what ends up happening, right? Like,
yeah. You're like you'll have one teammate where you just know like he had a rough one yesterday. Like all right, well we can't talk to so and so today because he's pissed off. Like
right,
so it's like you don't want to be that guy because that's not a good teammate. Because he doesn't. He's not worried about anyone else but himself, and he's in his own world over there. So it's like you just got to be the same guy every day, even if you give up 4 or whatever. You have a terrible outing the night before, like just come in being the same guy, and just flush it and just
yeah,
go to work. Like be a professional, like go to work. Those are your coworkers and your teammates, and some of them end up being your best friends. So just go there and
absolutely.
just be in the moment.
Definitely. Nobody wants to be the guy or see the guy either that's like you can tell he had a good one,
Yeah,
Like he shows up the
yeah.
next day and you're like, okay, yeah. He had a good one
Yeah, yeah.
yesterday. Here we go.
Yeah, that will piss people off too. Like you had a clean one yesterday with 3 punches. You come in all smiling, like
It's like, come on, man.
just be the same. Just be the same guy, man. We don't want to be able. No one wants to be able to tell if you had a good one or bad one. Just
Right.
come in, just with the same head on your shoulders, and just be the guy.
Absolutely. I mean, that comes with perspective. Having perspective about like this game is gonna go like this, like you were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
But like having perspective that like if I keep doing what I need to do, that it's gonna work out.
yeah,
So another thing I wanted to ask you, and some people have asked, let's see, it's that like injuries. How you've had some injuries in your career. How do you
yeah.
deal with those, and what's your advice to young kids dealing with injuries and maybe trying to come back and be better?
Man, injuries are tough, especially like when you can't get over like a certain like hurdle, or like you've been rehabbing for a while and then like something else starts barking, or like it's it's very frustrating at times, and that can wear on you mentally, being stuck in rehab, or like, rehabbing the same injury more than once. And I think what always kept me in perspective is like, this will be over eventually. Like, I'll get through this, and like, I just got to take it day by day, focus on what I need to do this day. Like, you can't get caught looking further down the road. Like, man, what if I'm still dealing with this like a month from now or 2 months from now, or like it's a long term injury? Like, how am I gonna feel when I'm throwing after surgery or whatever it may be? It's like, dude, it's like, be in the moment. Like, all right, what did I do today? What do I got to do to put myself in the best situation for tomorrow? Whether it's like small stuff, like whether it's like taking pride in like, being needy. I feel like for me, like, it was like even like the smallest stuff as just like laying my clothes out for the next day. Like, I'm putting like intention on, like, I'm waking up, I know what I'm going to put on, and I know like I'm going to be there at this time, and I'm going to be ready to go. It's just like small stuff like making your bed, or like, it's just like whatever. Like, control what you can control in the moment. You just can't get caught thinking mentally too far down the road. Like, oh, I got to get ready because I have this showcase coming up, or like, I gotta get my elbow feeling right because I got this big bullpen, or I got this big game. Or it's like,
Right.
you just got to focus on yourself in the moment. Like, what can I do today to help myself for tomorrow?
Right. You're
Day
you're
by day,
really
man.
you're really like goal oriented guy. I mean, just talking to you, I could see it from the beginning when I met you. What's your advice to kids maybe when they're struggling to set goals? And I think I know your answer is going to be like one day at a time, right? Like,
Yeah,
but like
yeah. I
what would
mean,
be your advice to kids when setting goals for themselves? Maybe a high school kid.
I feel like you got to have like two sets of goals, like short term goals and like long term goals. Like, where do I want to be at the end of the season, or like, where do I want to be by my next like 5 outings? Like, what am I working on? Like, in that. And like, and there's long term goals, there's short term goals. You got to figure out, like, write them down. Like, what do you want to accomplish within the next 2 weeks of the season? Or like, I got 2 weeks this off season. What do I want to work on? Whether it's like training, whether it's throwing, whether it's, whatever it is. Like, write them down, and then hold yourself to those short term goals. And then if you accomplish the short term goals, keep making short term goals as you go, and then look up at your long term goals that you already had written down. Like, how am I doing on the way there? Am I tracking? Like, I'm good. And then close that, put that off to the side, and go back to your short term goals. I feel like that's what I did in college. Like, I wrote down, like, I want to cut down the walks. Like, this
Right.
is my long term goal. I want to cut down the walks in the season. I want to have more strikeouts. I want to have this stat line, or like, this amount of innings. And then I go to my short term goals. Like, it's like, okay, I want to refine my slider. I want to make it more consistent, whether it's grip, whether it's, mechanic, like, it's that, those are like smaller stuff. But then, like, over the season, and you look back at your long term goals, those are bigger goals. Those are like, the end goals. And it's like, you look back, like, all right, I accomplished them, because
Right.
like, I stayed in the moment and focused on my short term ones.
Right. You took it. You're very like detail oriented type of guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you really focus on like what can I do right now, control the controllables, right? Like,
Yeah.
where did you learn that? Is that something from your parents or coaches, or like where did you learn and when did you start to apply that really into your life?
Yeah, I think I got it from my dad at an early age, because like, my dad, like, he played sports growing up, but he didn't play in like college or anything. But like, he was very like, he was like in IT. He was very like technical, and very like methodical in how he went about, like, just like his routine during the day. Like, whether it's like, stuff was laid out like at a time, or like he had a purpose where he needed to be, and like everything. It was like, I always took pride on being on time for things. Whether that's just like I wanted to be there, or it's like I have respect for the person that I'm meeting with or I'm working with, like, respect their time. It's like small things like that. I think I got from him. And then when I went to my routine, I became very methodical in how I laid my stuff out. And like, all right, I want to go to the gym and accomplish this. Like, this is what we got today. We got a big lower lift, like, kind of mentally preparing what I have for today. So when I show up, it's like, all right, I got this, and this, knowing what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, how's this going to translate. It's just asking yourself questions too. Like, if you're doing a certain drill, like what is this going to translate to? And if you don't know, then ask your like trainer or whoever or whatever who's making your program, like, what is the goal out of this exercise that I'm doing? Or like if you're doing arm care, like what muscle am I supposed to be targeting here? And it's like stuff like that. Just knowing, just kind of have a better feel of like what you're doing. Don't just go through the motions just to go through them.
Right, right. There needs to be a goal, as we talked about at the end of like whatever you're doing in training. Like if you're not training just to train, you're training to
Yeah,
reach a goal to achieve an outcome that
yeah.
is something you can control as you're training. What do you think? You talked about competing in training earlier. What's something, and then bullpens. One day a week you're gonna look at the machine, and one day of the week you're just gonna compete. What would your advice be to a kid who maybe has gone into this analytics stuff and it's like way into it? Because I see it all the time giving lessons or whatever it is, where they're like, "Oh, I need to know my numbers. I need to know this." How would you tell them to like, "Hey, this should be your routine on your compete days"? What would that look like?
I think whether they're a bullpen guy or a starter, it's like on those compete like bullpens, it's like you're mixing it up, like how you would pitch to a hitter. Like you're not going to throw three glove side away fastballs and then three arm side fastballs and then like four sliders in a row. Like no, like you can do that to warm up, do that for your first 10, like establish the zone, get your feel for everything, but then leave like the last like 15 like, all right, I'm gonna go fastball up, curveball off that, and then I'll go like two seam in, slider off that. Like, just pitch how you would normally pitch a hitter and like compete in the zone with whatever you want to do. And it's like having that mindset of like putting yourself in a game like situation. Like you're not gonna go out there and face whatever team you're facing. We wouldn't go out there and face a big league hitter and be like, okay, I'm just gonna go three glove side white heaters. Like,
Right.
I think I'll get them out. Like, no, like they're gonna catch on eventually. So you got to be able to mix it up. And I feel like that's a big step is just being able to mix it up and fill up the zone.
Yeah, challenging yourself, right?
Yeah,
Like make it hard. That's what I
yeah,
always tell kids. Like you got to make it hard on yourself in practice. I mean, it's
exactly.
not going to be easy all the time.
Hmm.
But anyway, I think that's great advice. I don't love the whole like when I throw a bullpen, I establish my few.
Hmm.
I work through my pitches, probably about two of each pitch in a certain area that I want to go that day, depending on what I'm working on, and then I get right into competing myself.
Yeah,
But it's kind of like what you're saying. Like, how do you expect to go out there and get a big leaguer out if you're just throwing sequenced fastballs low and away or whatever
yeah,
it is, and then go out there and expect them not to hit it if you do
yeah.
it
Because
over and
like
over again.
if you're not practicing that, and you go out there and you're like, okay, catcher calls heater up, and you go up, then he calls curveball. It's like if you haven't practiced going heater up then curveball, then how are you gonna know? Like you can't get mad at yourself when you don't execute the pitch
Right,
because you never practiced that. Like you weren't ready to make that, that mix.
right,
So it's like just putting yourself in a game like situation on the pitches that you would probably make to either a righty or a lefty.
right, and I mean that develops confidence, right?
Hmm.
Like if you work in your bullpens and you're working on those things, and then it comes up in a game, like you said, it's like, oh, I freaking got this down, man. I got that
Yeah,
nailed. I've been doing it for months. What
exactly.
do you think? Developing confidence. What do you think that your strategy is for that to get you in a place to when you're at your best in the big leagues in the game?
Mine was always preparation. Like if I prepared with everything that I wanted to do, and then I step on the mound, I'm like, I've done everything I can up until this point, and now it's just time to compete. And that gives me confidence because I know I prepared. I know I put myself in the best situation to have success. And I feel like you go from there, and then like you build confidence. Like as you start throwing, like all right, that fastball there, that was good. Like that was a good swing and miss off that slider, like, and that gives you more confidence. Like as you go out through an outing or through an appearance or whatever it may be, just try to find that click that just like all right, you're in a groove now because
Right,
like it's in there. It's just whether or not you get to that point every outing. Like sometimes you're lost out there. You're like can't really find the zone, yanking heaters, and like then you got to be like all right, let's take a step off the mound. Let's take a deep breath, get the sign. Like, all right, we're going fastball glove side, and then you just focus on executing that pitch, and then
Right.
you go from that pitch. Like, okay, I executed that. All right, let's build off of that. Let's go slider away, and then like throw that one. It's like trying to just put yourself in a good to find a groove, really.
Right. So you're very analytical. You think really hard about, like, you're very methodical, as you said about your dad earlier. You're that way too. From my experience with you, it seems like. And so when you're on the mound, is that kind of your thoughts? Like, okay, well, now I need to do this. I need to execute a fastball up here. Is, like, how do you mentally control that? Because for me, it's a little different. I'm more emotional. I hide it pretty well. But what I battle on the mound is typically emotions, not necessarily like all
Hmm.
like thinking too much. It's more like
Yeah,
I get mad, and
yeah,
sometimes I can use that to help me, and sometimes it hurts me. But like
yeah.
from your side, how do you control kind of the methodology of it, the analyzing everything that happens? How do you control that in your head?
Well, it's like there's a bunch of factors. There's like the crowd noise. There's what has gone on in the game so far. Are there guys like on base? Like, is it a high stress situation? And then like you go from there. And then like from what I've learned and being in like a high leverage like situation, it's like you literally got to take a step back and be like, okay, you're in this position because you've earned it, and all the hard work's been done. So like, what do we go from here? We go, all right, we're gonna go fastball, and like you literally just focus on the smallest aspect, and like
Right,
you try to just drown out the crowd noise. Yeah, this is a big part of the game. Like everyone's watching, people are watching on TV, but like you're just playing a game, and like you literally just lock in on like that's the only thing. Like I'm just out here pitching.
right,
Like I'm just out here competing, and like yeah, you may have already given up like 3 runs or whatever, and like it looks like it's hitting the fan, and like
right.
it's unraveling on you. And that's just when the game speeds up on you. You got to learn how to slow it down, and that's I still battle with that. I still trying to figure that aspect out. But yeah, I think it's just as far as like the analytical part, like you got to find the mix that works for you. Like I'm never out and outing, and like if they had like some of the ballparks have like the horizontal and vertical break
Yeah,
up there,
yeah.
like I'm never like out there looking like after a fastball. Like, what was that vertical break on that? Like,
Right.
no, I'm never looking at. I'll look at the velo every once in a while, but like I even got in a bad habit of looking like every pitch, and like that's not
Yeah.
every heater. I'm looking up there like, where am I at? Like, no, that's not. You can't be doing that either, because like you're not focused on getting the guy out. You're focused on just throwing hard. So
Right.
it's like I don't know. It's just find the good mix that works for you. Like especially at a young age, it's all like I didn't have that when I was. We didn't have that when we were coming like
No.
when we were younger. Like you don't need that. You just got to go out there and compete and let your raw talent and just try to develop your raw talent as much as you can. And then there'll be a time to like pitch design as you get older and in college and stuff, work on your repertoire, and like you can use analytics as a tool. But I just think competing is such a big
Huge.
aspect of it, because that's what's going to take you to the big leagues. Just like how well you compete, and like how well you just want to beat other guys.
Yeah.
Like so. I think that's the biggest part.
Right. No, it's kind of the same thing that you've been kind of harping on. It's like one pitch at a time, one thing at a time. That's all you can focus on is just
Yeah.
the little things, and that's what keeps you, in the moment and being
Yeah.
able to compete. You talked about the raw talent, and like I was telling somebody the other day, like those guys in Double A, they have the talent to be in the big leagues.
Yeah.
It's the consistency. It's the
Mhm.
being there every day and being the same guy. It's the routines. It's the little things, kind of what we've been talking about, that kind of separate
Yeah.
those guys and allow them to get to the big leagues. And then it's an even other step for the guys that stay in the big leagues. What do you think the difference is between maybe, like, I guess, like, what do you think the biggest thing is for guys that get there and stay there, and how do you go about that? What do you think is the main key for you being able to maintain and be the same guy and be consistent in such a high pressure situation?
I think they just, they're able to manage failure better. They're able to fail and like, okay, it's not a big deal. Like whatever, flush it and like, yeah, yeah. this guy pumped me yesterday, but I may have to face him like today. So it's like, all right, well, he's not going to do that today. Like,
Right.
I'm gonna lock in and like get this guy out. And that goes back to, competing, goes back to preparation. It's like if you show up and do your routine, you prepare, you mentally prepare, you like lock in, then you're gonna be successful more times than not.
Right.
It's just like literally putting yourself in the best position. It's like those guys, some of the guys in Double A that are struggling with consistency. It's like, okay, let's look at my routine. Maybe I'm not doing the same routine that I am on like the days I'm like being really successful. And like you got to know like by this time I need to be here. Like, not saying you got to be a robot and like,
Yeah.
you got to listen to your body and adjust when you need to adjust, but it's mentally knowing that you prepared and you can ride the wave of a long season and
100%.
still be mentally checked in.
Right. Be the same guy. I mean, and what like I think it's hard to explain that to kids. It really is. You know,
Yeah,
it's hard to be like, hey man, like you're not being consistent enough in your work. You know, but when they've got all these other things going around, what would be your advice? I think it's to me, it's like, dude, just go out there and compete and practice, compete. What's your
yeah, like
advice to a kid? Like,
yeah, try to be the best at everything, whether it's like sprints at the end of practice or who makes the most accurate throws in infield or like who uh, who messes up on ground balls the least. Like it's
right,
like locking in on those small things throughout practice and like wanting to be the best at that, and which carries over to the game because you obviously want to be the best in the game. So it's like just competing with the guys around you. That's why it's so important to surround yourself with guys like that.
yeah,
If you guys are all together and like we have a great group of guys down here in Tampa that we all train with from a bunch of different teams, but we're all like every day training at the same time and like some of our lifts are we're doing the same type of lifts sometimes throughout the day. And it's like, all right, let's try to challenge each other, whether it's like sprinting or like speed work or stuff like that. Like we're competing every day, and it's we love sports. Like that's why we got into this job is because we love competing.
right.
It's like whenever we play golf too. Like golf, like we're trying
Oh
to
yeah,
or like throw a little bit of money on the line. We're competing. Just making it interesting. It's whatever we're doing. We're trying to compete. So I think that's
yeah.
what makes it fun too.
I agree, and I think that's a common theme with guys that get to the big leagues and the highest level of any sport. Like those guys, you don't want to be playing at a card game. Like they're whatever it is, a board game,
Yeah.
golf, basketball, pick up basketball, whatever it is. Those guys that make it to the most elite level, they want to win at everything.
Yep. No doubt.
It's definitely a common theme for pretty much all professional athletes I've been around.
Yes.
So
No doubt.
you talked about. I mean, we talked about it a lot. I think it's kind of been the theme too. Besides, taking it one day at a time, but surrounding yourself with good people. I mean, I'm lucky enough to have a good group of guys we work out here at the University of Arkansas. We're thankful to them for letting us come up there. How important do you think that is, maybe for a younger kid, like in high school, like to get your buddies to buy in and be friends with guys that are like-minded?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's huge, and like to be the guy that's like motivating your friends to do it too. That just puts you in like a whole nother level. It's like I was like that in my high school. Some guys weren't taking it serious, and like I was, and like they saw what I did, and like um, they're like envious of like my success, and I'm like, bro, like you could easily be in the same boat. Like just let's just go to work, like do what I do, like let's push each other.
Right.
Let's do it. And then the next thing you know, like we're all playing college ball, and like we look back, like remember we were grinding late at night at the high school field, whether it's hitting or you know just stuff like that, just doing stuff outside of practice too. Like you don't like just because you're at practice from six to eight, and then you go home and like, oh well, baseball's done. Like no, you can get there early, like before practice, hit off the tee or whatever it is, like put in
Right.
the extra work, and then when the other stuff that the other guys aren't doing, because then that's going to translate to when you're in practice, like you can compete and like, all right, I already did this earlier today, or like,
Right.
I'm ready for this, and like just makes those reps even more. Just get as many reps as you can with whatever it is.
100%. 100%. I agree. Just like we said, compete, compete, compete. You know, and do it with people that are like minded and want it just as bad as you do.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I really appreciate you coming on here. I was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you hitting me up. I'm glad I can come on here and talk some baseball, man.
Yeah, it was good. I think there's a lot kids can learn from this, and I enjoyed it. I know I had fun, so I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah, no problem, man.